Okay, my name is Melody Ann Kirk, and I'm 37 years old. I'm a U.S. citizen from California, and I graduated in 2005 with a degree, an undergraduate degree in Middle East Studies, and I spent a lot of time in the Middle East. After that degree, I earned my MA in TESOL, Teaching English as a Second Language, in 2010 from the University of San Francisco. After this, I was able to work at Intrax Language Institute in San Francisco, teaching young adults English conversation classes and general English speaking classes. After this, I received a position from the South Korean government through the EPIC program. And in South Korea, I maintained two jobs. The first one was at an elementary school, Moonji Elementary. And during the morning, I would teach children from the ages of 7 to 12. In the afternoon, I would teach the teachers. So the teachers who worked at the elementary who wished to improve their English, I would lead classes for them. In addition, I did assessment, editing for English materials, and I created a curriculum for both the summer and the winter camps. In addition to this job, I also worked at the Daejeon Migrants Center. This is a center in Daejeon that teaches English to foreign workers from Saudi Arabia, Bangladesh, India, and usually South Asian countries who come to Korea for economic opportunity. That was focused mainly on adult classes for ESP, English for Specific Purposes. So we dealt with a lot of general English and as it applied to their jobs. Aside from this, I've also worked with Refugee Transitions, which is a local San Francisco organization to teach English to refugees. And during my entire career, I've always did one-to-one adult English language tutoring and lessons.
Okay, all right. Why are you interested in teaching in Middle East?
I love the Middle East. I've been very lucky to have spent a lot of time in the Middle East. I have a strong desire to learn the Arabic language, and I love the art, the culture, and I really love the food. So going to the Middle East for me is a cultural enrichment. I have a degree in Middle East studies, so I love the I love the area.
Okay, all right. What are your strengths and weaknesses as a teacher?
I feel that my strengths are that I'm extremely personable, I'm very friendly and approachable. I take this job very seriously, and I always have a student-focused classroom. It's very important to me as a teacher to know my students, and I feel that I make a huge effort to know my students and then teach according to their likes, dislikes, and their personalities. As far as a weakness, I feel that sometimes I might try to over explain a concept. While this is good for lower levels, higher level students tend not to need so much explanation. So this is something I'm always mindful of.
Okay. How do your students describe you?
They describe me as being very, I think funny is first. I always try to make my lessons interesting and very high content, friendly and knowledgeable, most importantly, knowledgeable and approachable.
What strategies do you use to make your class interesting?
I always use multimedia as much as humanly possible. I have a lot of realia. Anything I can bring to the classroom aside from the textbook is very important. I like to supplement my classes and my lessons with videos, depending on the culture, music, videos, and real life objects. If we were going to do a lesson on office work, it would be important for me to bring in pen, pencil, a laptop to have real items to enrich the lesson and make it more lesson and less theory.
Okay. How do you encourage creativity in your classroom?
Oh, creativity is paramount. I always like to do a writing assignment of just, hi, how are you? And introduce myself to the students and have the students tell me about them. Using that information, try to inspire the students to write or speak about something they feel passionate about. For example, in South Korea, K-pop was extremely popular. All of my students loved K-pop, both the little students and the adult students. When I would use K-pop in a lesson, they felt inspired enough to want to talk, to want to raise their hands and engage in the classroom. So finding high interest content is a great way to inspire creativity and participation.
Okay. Describe your best lesson that you ever have had.
Oh, my best lesson. I have a lesson on pronunciation. English pronunciation for non-native speakers can be rather difficult. And this lesson was both for adults and children. And I used a technique called TPR. TPR is a very popular ESL technique where you engage in motion and music and outside stimuli to remember language. So I created some candy boxes with candy, and the students had to shake the candy box while saying rhymes that had to do with candy, such as the candy we eat is delicious and sweet, and do other motions to internalize the language. It was very successful, and I feel that my students really learned a lot.
Okay. All right. Uh, what do you do to avoid behavior problems with students?
I think it's extremely important to have a presence of authority and to always be mindful of their activities. Sometimes when you lecture, your students think you're not paying attention. I often walk through the aisles rather than just stand at the front of the class and engage them in eye contact, and if need be, stand by their desk to show them that I am watching what they're doing and I'm aware of it. If it persists, to call them by name and ask them very kindly to explain what they're speaking about, as maybe the rest of the class would like to know. Using mild forms of attention to make sure they know I'm paying attention